Hi everyone. In this video, I'll show you how to quickly create great-looking maps in QGIS using the fantastic data available from the Natural Earth website. The Natural Earth website was created by a team led by Nathaniel Von Kelso and Tom Patterson. It is a true labor of love and an invaluable source for cartographers. Natural Earth offers both raster and vector data, but that's only the beginning. It's some of the highest quality data available, and it's all free to use with no restrictions. The vector data includes a lot of useful GIS attributes, giving the data a lot of flexibility. If you're creating a small-scale map, a map of the world or other large area, such as the US, Natural Earth probably has all of the data you need, all in one place. By using Natural Earth data, you can produce a really great-looking map in very little time. Here's an overview of the data. First, we'll look at the vector files. Natural Earth data is separated into three scales: 1 to 10 million, large scale, 1 to 50 million, medium scale, and 1 to 110 million, small scale. The 1 to 10 million data set is the largest and most detailed, so I'll focus on that. The medium and small scale data sets are good for maps that don't need as much detail, such as populated places, for example. All of the vector data is in shapefile format, so it's easy to use in QGIS. The vector data is separated into cultural and physical categories. The physical data includes land areas, islands, oceans, rivers and lakes, bathymetry, labels, and geographic lines and grids. The cultural data includes countries, boundary lines, disputed areas, states and provinces, U.S. counties, cities, roads, parks, airports, plus a few others. I keep several of these data sets, such as country and state borders, on hand as my default sources for every large area map project. The Natural Earth vector data is great and very convenient to use, but it's the raster files that really make this site such a goldmine. Offerings include the continental U.S., Northern Hemisphere, and the entire world, and all are the best quality you'll ever find. All of these files are GeoTIFFs, which means you can use them in QGIS and add vector data layers to them. Most of the relief files are expertly colored using several different coloring methods. The raster files come in two sizes: large, 16,200 by 8,100 pixels, and medium, 10,800 by 5,400 pixels. The large 1 to 10 million raster files are the most detailed. These can be used to create maps of the world, regions, or individual countries. Most of these are available in several versions: land cover only, land cover with relief, and land cover with relief and water features. Here's a quick overview. Cross-blended hypsometric tints. Hypsometric coloring uses colors similar to the natural environment. Deserts are brown, forested areas are green, and polar areas are blue-gray. Natural Earth 1. These files use a light natural color palette. Natural Earth 2. These files use a color palette showing the Earth as imagined before modern civilization. This is my preferred version of relief with land cover. Ocean bottom. Grayscale shaded relief. This is an expertly prepared DEM that's been converted into shaded relief, so you can skip the QGIS hillshade step. Gray earth. This is useful for maps using vibrant colors. One of the really great features of these files is that the colored ones all come in a version that includes drainages, meaning lakes and rivers. This saves a lot of time messing with vector data for these features, and the resulting file looks much better. A note about the files with no water. Most of the relief files are available in a version without water. These are useful if you want to use your own water layer instead of the bathymetry included in the other files, but there's a caveat. The files with no water show land that's below sea level. Here's what I mean. I'm not sure why they do this, but if you're creating a map, I assume you only want to show land above sea level, so you'll need to trim this excess land somehow. This requires using a mask, and I'll detail this process in an upcoming video. For now, just be aware of this issue. The natural Earth files all cover the entire world except the shaded relief of the U.S. raster file, but there are some other great files available for maps of the U.S. or North America. These are at the shadedrelief.com site, sort of the parent of Natural Earth. If you've never been to this site, be prepared to spend several hours. It includes a lot of data, tutorials, articles, and a wealth of information and tips for creating great maps. Let's take a look at the files. The Shaded Relief site offers several excellent shaded relief files of the US and North America. Most are GeoTIFFs, so they can easily be used in QGIS or other GIS software. Here's a summary. Physical features of the contiguous US. This map shows the contiguous US plus parts of Canada and Mexico. Several versions are available. JPEGs that include labels, a layered Illustrator file that includes a geo-referenced relief file, and a terrain with hydrology as a GeoTIFF. This last one makes an excellent base for adding your own vector layers, and the resolution is high enough to produce a poster-sized map. Plus, the layered Illustrator file can save you a lot of time with labeling. Physical map of North America. This is the same as the previous one, except all of North America is shown. It comes in the same versions, JPEG, layered Illustrator file, and shaded relief only. The relief file includes hydrography. This is not only a huge time saver, it looks better than vector hydro data. Manual shaded relief of the contiguous US. This is the same as the shaded relief file of the world, but just the continental US with parts of Canada and Mexico. A great basis for US maps with your own coloring. If you want uncolored relief of the US, you'd be crazy to use anything else. 100-meter natural Earth map data. For a map of the US, a resolution of 100 meters means a really detailed image of the terrain. This file is so detailed that the US has to be split into two files, east and west. There's no layered Illustrator file for this map. We have three choices: land cover only, land cover with shaded relief, and land cover with shaded relief and water bodies. There are separate files for the contiguous US, Alaska, Hawaii, and Puerto Rico Virgin Islands. These files are huge. At 254 ppi, the US map is 16 feet wide and is split into two files. All of these are GeoTIFFs, so you can use them in QGIS if your computer can handle it. The Shaded Relief site also has some other useful map files, especially for world maps. Equal Earth Physical Map. This is a world map using the Equal Earth projection, a good choice for world maps. It comes in several versions: JPEG, layered Illustrator file, terrain only, and grayscale shaded relief. The terrain can be used in QGIS. Since most of the natural Earth raster files are available as GeoTIFFs, you can use them in QGIS to add vector data, reproject them, or do whatever you want. Here's a quick example to show you how this works. In this example, I'll work with the manual shaded relief of the world file, called the Shaded Relief Basic file. This is a grayscale file that shows land relief only, no bathymetry, and is a good choice for maps to show relief with your own coloring. I'll download the medium-sized version, then unzip it. While I'm on the Natural Earth site, I'll also download some vector data. I'll click on the Physical tab and download these files: land, ocean, rivers and lakes centerlines, lakes and reservoirs. Next, I'll go to the Cultural tab and download these files: countries and populated places. I'll unzip these files and put them in a folder. Next, I'll load the data into QGIS, starting with the raster file. When I check the coordinate system, I can see it's WGS84. You can leave it that way, or you can change the projection. I'll leave it alone for now. First, I'll add the ocean layer and change the color to a light blue. I'll also add the land layer and turn it off for now. Next, I'll add the countries layer and leave the color alone for now. Now I'll add the rivers and lakes layers and change their color. Finally, I'll add the populated places layer and I'll turn that off for now. My base map is now set. I want to create two versions of this map. For the first one, I want each country to be a different color like you commonly see on political maps. The natural Earth vector data has a lot of useful attributes. The countries layer includes a set of attributes for random coloring called map color. The different map color attributes each have a number. That's how many different colors it will generate. I'll double-click on the country layer to open the Layer Properties window. At the top, I'll change Single Symbol to Categorized. For the value, I'll select Map Color 9, then click Classify. I'll click Apply to see how that looks. Those colors are a bit bright for me, but you can adjust them as desired or use a different color ramp. I can't see the shaded relief layer, so I'll change the blending mode of the countries layer to Multiply. When I click Apply, I can now see the relief, but it's pretty dark, so I'll lower the opacity of the countries layer to about 50%. That looks better. The land areas still look a little dark. To fix that, I'll brighten the shaded relief layer. Double-click on the layer to open the Layer Properties window. Adjust these settings: brightness to about 75, gamma to 1.8, contrast to -25, and resampling to bilinear. That's much better. Next, I'll add some cities. I don't want to add all of them, just the national capitals. First, I'll turn on the populated places layer. To show only the capitals, I'll filter the data. This dataset has an attribute called ADM0CAP with two values, 1 which means capital, and 0 not a capital. The expression is simple. ADM0CAP equals 1. This means show the records where the ADM0CAP value equals 1. Next, I'll change the city markers to solid black with a white stroke. Finally, I'll label the cities and countries. Both layers have a name attribute, so I'll select that in the Labels tab. I'll make the country names 12 points and italic. And this map is done. It's nothing fancy, but it's a good starting point for many world maps. For the second version of this map, I want all of the land to be the same color with national borders visible. First, I'll turn off the cities layer. I'll also turn off the countries layer for now and turn on the land layer. I'll change the color of this layer to a dark brown and the blend mode to Multiply. I'll also set the contrast of the relief layer back to 1 so the relief will show through the dark brown color. Next, I'll turn the countries layer back on and double-click on it to open the Layer Properties window. At the top, I'll select Single Symbol and then click on Simple Fill. I'll set the fill style to No Brush and change the stroke color to a light brown. Next, I'll turn the cities layer back on and change the label color to white. And finally, I'll change the country labels to a light brown, and we're done. Here are a few tips for working with the layered Illustrator files. These files have a lot of layers. The Equal Earth physical map has 60 layers. Make sure you're comfortable working with layers in Illustrator. The type layers are all editable. The typeface is all Adobe Myriad. If you have any Adobe applications such as Illustrator, you should already have this font. You can also change it to other fonts if you want. For the US maps, state and national borders are part of the relief layer and are fairly subtle. If you want to make these more prominent, you'll need to add a custom vector layer. One really cool aspect of these maps is that you can edit the raster layer directly in Photoshop. This is handy if you want to increase the contrast, shift the colors, or apply other effects. I'll increase the contrast of the relief layer on this example. First, I'll unlock the relief layer and make sure all of the other layers are locked. Then I'll click on the relief layer and go to Edit, Edit in Photoshop. This opens the relief file in Photoshop. I'll increase the contrast and save the file, then close it. When I switch back to Illustrator, the file automatically updates. When you're in Photoshop, just don't change the size or resolution of the file. If you need to create a map in a hurry or just don't want to bother with any GIS stuff, you're in luck. Natural Earth files give you several options. These are all at the shadedrelief.com site. Most of the maps of the US, North America, and the world are available in layered Illustrator versions. You can use these as is. All are free with no usage restrictions. Working this way has one drawback. You can't change the projection of the maps. This shouldn't be a problem since all of these maps use suitable projections. And if you really need a different projection, you can always start with the shaded relief file, which is a GeoTIFF, and rebuild the map that way. Here are a few maps worth a special mention. Plan Oblique Relief Map of the Contiguous US. This is a very attractive map of the contiguous US that uses plan oblique relief, resulting in more natural-looking mountains. The Illustrator file has 18 layers, so it's easy to customize by turning off layers you don't need. The only downside of this map is that it would be hard to add any custom data layers. The oblique relief removes the georeferencing information from the raster file, so you can't use it in QGIS to align other layers. But if you don't need to add custom data, this is a great US map. Equal Earth Political and Physical Maps. These excellent maps use the Equal Earth projection, which is a good choice for world maps. One great feature is that they are available with several reference meridians to show different world perspectives. The physical map also offers a GeoTIFF download, which makes it simple to add custom data layers using the procedure I'll explain later in this video. The political map doesn't have a GeoTIFF download, but if you need to add custom data, use the GeoTIFF from the physical map as a reference in QGIS and the projections will match. A minute ago, I mentioned adding custom data to these layered Illustrator maps. Here's what I mean by that. If you're using one of the layered Illustrator files that also has a GeoTIFF and you realize that you need to add some specialized data, don't panic. You don't have to start over in QGIS. You can prep the custom data in QGIS and add it to the Illustrator file. Let's say I quickly need to create a map of North America that shows oil deposits. The final map needs to show shaded relief and generally look good, and I need it fast. I don't have time to create the map from scratch. Here's a summary of this procedure. Pick a suitable Illustrator file, one that also has a GeoTIFF download available. Most of them do. Open the GeoTIFF in QGIS. Open the custom data layers in QGIS. Add a country's boundary file for reference. Once your custom data is in place, delete the raster layer. Export the file as an SVG using the normal procedure. Open this file in Illustrator and scale it proportionally to fit your other map. And then delete the reference layer. I'll start with the layered Illustrator file for the physical features of North America map. I like everything about this map, but I need to add some extra data to show onshore and offshore oil deposits, a data set I found online. I've turned off some of the layers that I don't want to show. The next thing I need to do is determine the projection of this map. The map legend specifies it as Lambert azimuthal equal area. I thought if I set my custom data layers to this projection, they should line up perfectly, but there's a catch. When I tried this, the resulting file didn't align correctly with the layered Illustrator file. I couldn't find a CRS in QGIS called Lambert azimuthal equal area. I tried the other Lambert equal area CRS options, but I got the same result. I eventually figured out the reason. the Illustrator map uses a customized version of the Lambert CRS. Instead of messing with that, I opened the GeoTIFF version of the map in QGIS. Next, I added a layer of state and country borders. I'll use this as a reference to line things up on the final map. Next, I added the custom data layer shapefiles. And finally, I deleted the GeoTIFF raster layer. I'll export the map as an SVG using the normal procedure. I'll open this SVG file in Illustrator. First, I'll delete the bounding boxes, then I'll select all and copy. I'll switch to the layered map and add a new layer, then paste and regroup the contents of this new layer. It's a lot smaller than the base map, so I'll need to scale it up quite a bit to fit. Instead of trying to scale it by hand, I always use the Scale dialog box for this to have more control. I'll start by scaling it by 300%. It helps to turn the preview off for this. I'll repeat the scaling, this time by 140%. Next, I'll select View, Hide Edges. This makes it a lot easier to see what I'm doing. Then I'll zoom in to an easily identifiable spot on the map, this area just above Washington State, and align the new layer with it. This will be the origin point for my final scaling. Now I'll zoom out and look to the opposite corner of the map to see how well this layer lines up. It's still too small, so I'll scale it by 110% using the origin point for the scaling. I'll repeat the scale, but now it's too big. So I'll scale again, this time by 95%. Once you get close, you might have to scale by really small amounts, like 99.7 or 100.2% to get things aligned perfectly. I'll say this is good enough for now. Next, I'll turn the edges back on, ungroup the layer, and deselect it. Now I can get rid of the state and country borders I used for reference. I'll click on one of these and go to Select Same Fill and Stroke, then Delete. Next, I'll fix the appearance of this custom layer. I'll click on one of the green areas using the Direct Selection tool and go to Select Same Fill and Stroke to select all of the green areas, then click on Merge in the Pathfinder panel to join them together. While they're still selected, I'll change the color to purple, turn the stroke off, and set the opacity and blend mode to suit. I'll then repeat this procedure for the offshore areas, which I'll make yellow. And we're done. Even though this method requires downloading the GeoTIFF in addition to the layered Illustrator file, that's the only way to guarantee that the custom data layers will be correctly oriented. And it's still a lot faster than building the entire map from the GeoTIFF, since you can still take advantage of all the other vector data that's already been done in the layered file. Thanks for watching. See you next time.